and our guest is Kenya's President William Ruto. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much for welcoming me to France 24.
Mr. President, there is a crisis in global governance. The United Nations, 80 years, the global financial architecture. Africa is still hoping to get more say, more leverage. How come this is not happening yet?
Today, we have a UN that has served humanity for 80 years, but there is one thing that is an imperative now. It's not if, it is when, and that when is now, the reform of this great organization. Because unless this organization is reformed, its own survival is at stake. Because two fundamental things stand out. The decision-making, the whole architecture about the organization being representative, being democratic, being alive to the challenges that exist today and the realities of the moment. And that is why Africa has pushed for the reform of the United Nations Security Council and the reform of the international financial architecture.
This is not happening.
These two stand out. I think the debate that is going on today is very different from the debate that was happening a few years ago. A few years ago, people thought this was remote. But today, looking at the statements on the floor in this particular summit, in this assembly, it is very clear that everybody, from President Trump to Macron to all the other global leaders, including those of us from Africa, we are united in one thing, that we need to reform the UN and its structures.
The issue of climate change, according to President Trump's speech here at the United Nations, it's the greatest con job ever perpetrated. You've been advocating climate change. You've been advocating rich countries to pay what they promised they would. When President says that, the President of the United States says that, this kills the prospect of what you're advocating, doesn't it?
I do not think that anybody, however influential, powerful, or great, can change the facts. You cannot reverse the trends that are going on. You know, floods are ravaging continents, wildfires, drought, and everything in between, you know. So that is a reality that you cannot wish away. Science is very stubborn. Facts are very stubborn. Maybe it can delay just slightly, but as they say, the train left the station. You know, climate change is real. Climate action is absolutely necessary. And
what about climate finance? It's not there. The rich countries.
That's the whole trajectory now about climate finance. And therefore, we are putting concrete proposals on the table. This is not anymore about arms. It's no longer about charity. Climate action is turning into an investment. You know, there are opportunities now, even as we focus on climate action, not just to say who should give what they didn't give, but it is turning out to be an opportunity for investment. And that is what we are saying. Climate change is something that is with us, and we have to deal with it. And I am very confident about the future.
Haiti, obviously, Kenya was the lead of the mission, the multinational security support mission. It's about to end. If you ask the Haitians, obviously, this is an utter failure. It was supposed to bring security. The gangs are still ruling the day in Haiti.
I was here with the chairman of the Presidential Council of Haiti yesterday. And what you're saying is completely opposite to what he believes in and what is going on the ground. When we went to Haiti, both the airport and the seaport had been overrun by gangs. Today they are operational. When we went to Haiti, schools, hospitals had been overrun by gangs. Today, schools are operating and hospitals are operating. The palace was under siege from gangs. Today, that is where the Presidential Council and the Prime Minister sit. The police headquarters in Port-au-Prince, together with the training academy, was overrun by gangs. In fact, gangs were operating from the police headquarters. Today, the police headquarters is working. In fact, they have just graduated 700 odd officers.
So it's a success? So are you going to say it's a success?
We would have done a lot better, and that's why I was saying we have achieved some, landmark achievements. We've stabilized the place. But for us to move it to the next level, we have also recommended what we think should happen in the next level. Number one, a wider mandate to make sure that there is a robust going after the gangs. Number two, greater logistics, what we lacked in this phase, greater logistics. And number three, more numbers. We were operating with 990. We believe with the addition now on our recommendation to 5,500, with more logistics, with better equipment, with better coordination, with a UN office to underwrite, we think we have set the foundation for the success of the intervention in Haiti. And we've recommended how it should look like going into the future.
Does this mean that the 1,000 or so Kenyan soldiers will stay and work for this new mission that the U.S. has been pushing, or are they coming back?
Our best position is we have completed our mission. We'd been asked to step in, but the one thing that Kenya will not do is to walk away from Haiti without clarity on a transition. We will be there to make sure that the next mission, once it is formed, it is not yet clear when that will be formed. It is not yet clear how it's going to be resourced. There are so many things that are still hanging.
The plan is to bring the troops home, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Sudan, obviously there is a civil war without the world really caring or watching. You've been accused of siding with the paramilitary rapid support forces, which is also accused of being funded and armed by the United Arab Emirates. What is your response to those accusations, and how do we end this terrible war?
I have made a very firm statement today at the Assembly, and the position of Kenya is that the two generals are cut from the same cloth. They are a product of an overthrow of a government set up by the people of Sudan through a revolution. And what Kenya does not agree with is to try and think one is better than the other. They are all the same. They are committing atrocities. We should deal with Sudan differently. And I'm very happy that finally the position Kenya has always pushed for last week was actually accepted by the Quad, the United States of America, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, when they said that there are no sides here. We must deal with Sudan differently. We must force the two generals to a ceasefire. We must have a government that is going to be a people's government in Sudan, and that no one of them will be allowed to partition Sudan into pieces. That is the position of Kenya. That is what we have always advocated for. But there are allegations, rumors, propaganda this way, that way, about Egypt, about Kenya, about UAE. And it's because we are a robustly democratic country. Why Kenya is being accused is because we offered a dialogue platform for parties.
Nothing more.
Nothing more. Not a single coin to do nothing, not a single support in any direction.
The United States has cut deals with several African countries, Ghana, Eswatini, Rwanda, South Sudan, lately Uganda, for them to take immigrants being deported from the United States. Have they asked you to do so?
We have no such request.
And if you were to get a request, would you accept it?
That has to be in line with Kenyan law.
A trade deal with the United States, according to your trade minister, is within reach before the end of this year. Is he right? Will there be a deal a trade deal with the U.S.? Because obviously it's been a problem for many countries around the world to avoid U.S. tariffs.
We have made huge progress on trade discussions between our officials. The minister from Kenya and the United States trade representative have had several meetings. We are confident that we will end up with a trade deal between Kenya and the U.S., hopefully this side of the year.
Last question. There was a crackdown on protesters. You've accused them of instigating a coup. Many civil society groups have said the police has been much too lethal in its response. People died. Do you have any regrets about how this has been dealt with? And do you think that this is now behind, or that there's still a big problem in Kenya?
Kenya is a robustly democratic country, and people express their opinion because the Constitution guarantees people to demonstrate and to picket and to organize themselves in whatever formation. What the law in Kenya does not permit is destruction of property. Property is, the sanctity of a property is guaranteed in the Constitution. And so anybody who oversteps and destroys, burns people's property, businesses, destroys buildings, is culpable. And the law will catch up with all those.
But that's different from being shot at.
But exactly, precisely. So that whole arrangement, including when the police use excessive force, we have a constitutional provision. We have a police oversight authority that makes sure that policemen who overstep their mandate are arraigned in a court of law, and they are held to account. So there is a balance on both sides. There is a balance on the rights of citizens, and there is also an obligation on the side of the police to do what it is that they can do. And I think we have managed to strike a balance, and that is why the situation has come down. And we are moving on with building the national project, the Kenya national project.
William Ruto, I want to thank you very much for being our guest here in New York. And I want to thank you for watching this edition of Tête à Tête here on France 24.